Hi, everyone. Today is Thursday, the 3rd of July, 2025. And for my viewers in the United States, I hope you are looking forward to a great Independence Day weekend. It's the 4th of July tomorrow everywhere, but only Independence Day in the United States, unless some other place has the same national holiday by coincidence. If it is, let me know. Today, my topic is the five whys, which is one of the most basic and useful tools for determining a root cause. I've waited a while to present this topic because although the five whys is very simple conceptually, there are some pitfalls and some cases where it may not be the right approach. So before I get into those, I'm going to explain what it is and how to use it. So, like I said, conceptually, very simple. If you want to understand the root cause of a problem, ask why 5 times. Now, it doesn't exactly have to be five. You could ask 3 times, you could ask as many as seven or more. But in general, if you haven't asked at least 3 times, you're not exploring deep enough. And if you ask more than seven whys, then you may be going down a rabbit hole. So, when you do the five whys, you need to do this in a group. You want to avoid bias and blind spots, and you want to get the best available information. So, to illustrate the concept, I've come up with this pretty common example. It's used often to demonstrate the five whys. I can't take credit for it. It's all over the internet if you do a web search on five whys example. So you start with a problem statement. In this case, the problem is the Washington Monument is deteriorating. And why is the Washington Monument deteriorating? Because of the use of harsh cleansers. So why? They had to clean up bird droppings. Why? Birds were gathering around to eat spiders. Why? Spiders were drawn to insects near the monument. Why? Insects were attracted to the lights at dusk. Why? In summer, the lights came on before it was completely dark. And there is your root cause. Now, that was six whys, and you can read it backwards to make sure the logic is correct. And I recommend you do this whenever you do the five whys. And we'll start at the root cause and go backwards to the problem statement. So, in summer, the lights came on before it was completely dark. Therefore, insects were attracted to the lights at dusk. Therefore, spiders were drawn to the insects near the monument. Therefore, birds were gathering around to eat spiders. Therefore, they had to clean up bird droppings. Therefore, the use of harsh cleansers. And therefore, the Washington Monument was deteriorating. And this is just to illustrate the five whys concept. I have not checked with the National Park Service to find out if this was an actual scenario or not. I would love to know if this fixed the problem. So, or if this, let me rephrase that, if that was the true root cause. And remember, the purpose of the five whys is to discover the root cause, not the solution. I got to bang the table on that one. So once you've used the five whys to determine the root cause, then you go to other methods to determine an effective solution. And one of the pitfalls of the five whys method is taking a solution led approach. And this happens a lot, especially if one person tries to do the five whys alone. So if a person goes into this five whys with a preconceived idea of what the root cause is going to be, then they will always land on that cause. It's human nature. And it negates the value of even doing the five whys. A lot of times, a supervisor will see a problem as a one time mistake and have it in their head that an employee needs additional training. So when I get the five whys, it looks something like this. So, problem statement: end item didn't function. Why? A part was installed incorrectly. Why? Assembler made a mistake. Why? Human error. Why? Assembler needs additional training. This is a bad five why for a couple of reasons. Now, when you get into human error, you really want to find out what's causing that and how the system is failing to support the process. Also, Assembler needs additional training is not a cause, it's a solution. And this 5 why does not show a root cause. Remember, we're only looking at cause, in the 5 why solution comes later. Now, here's another example of a common solution-led error in 5 why. Now, our problem statement is product prototype not made correctly. Why? Design document was incorrect. Why? Error in design document was not detected. Why? Design document was not reviewed. Why? Document workflow was not followed. Why? Because we haven't upgraded to the latest document workflow software. Now, the bottom of this 5 why, once again, is a solution, not a root cause. And we have no idea if upgrading to the latest version of the document workflow software will solve this problem or not, because we haven't gotten to a true root cause. When you start seeing the words due to a lack of, or because we don't have, and so on, that is a red flag to you to make sure you aren't on a solution-led approach to the 5 whys. Another pitfall to the 5 why method is trying to use it when another tool would be better. So in order to use the 5 why effectively, you need to either have firsthand knowledge of the events leading up to the issue or be able to observe it. And if you're addressing an issue that happened in the past and you don't know how it happened, then you can't effectively do a 5 why. You could come up with a plausible or possible chain of whys that lead to a potential root cause. However, there may be other possibilities as well. In this case, you're doing sort of a thought experiment. You're guessing and hoping that you're correct, but you want certainty in your root cause, not hopes and not guesses. So when you don't know exactly what led to the problem, or you can't observe it firsthand, then use a fault tree diagram or some other tool instead. Now, here's a side note. It's a good practice to do 3 parallel 5 whys when addressing an issue. One to find out the actual root cause, a second to find out why the problem was not detected, and a third to understand how the system failed to prevent the issue. In the previous example, there was an error in the design document that escaped to production. We need to find out how the error was created, how it escaped detection, and how the system failed to prevent it. That's all I have for the 5 whys. If you or your organization would like some help in effectively using 5 whys, or get some training on how to use 5 whys to find true root causes that lead to effective and lasting solutions, get in touch with me. On LinkedIn, I am one Michael Null. And thank you for watching my videos. Remember to help someone today and make all the good things happen. Goodbye.